Riga is the capital of Latvia, an Eastern European country covered in forests and lined by miles of sandy coastline. Its compact size, rich history and low cost make it a great alternative short break, or as part of a greater tour of the Baltic states. We visited in March, excited to explore somewhere new despite our early morning flight.
We've arrived in Riga, it's snowing, which we weren't expecting. Our hotel room isn't quite ready yet, so we've just popped over the road to get some lunch while we wait. Kav's come all the way to Latvia, and what she ordered? Burger. This hotel's quite cool because it's renovated from an old factory that used to be here. We're heading to Riga Market.
You said it was going to be a picture!
As I was saying, we're heading to Riga's Central Market, the biggest in Europe, to have a bit of a wonder for the rest of the afternoon before we crash.
Just a short 10-minute walk from the centre of town, Riga's Central Market was opened in 1930 inside old airship hangars. Each of these 5 huge food pavilions houses a different category: meat, fish, vegetables, dairy and gastronomy. However, you can also find an endless choice of exotic spices, alcohol, clothes, souvenirs and all kinds of other homemade and Latvian grown products dotted throughout one of Europe's largest and most varied markets.
He just chucked it all over the camera. So I really like this market because when you go to most European markets, it tends to be a tourist trap full of loads of tacky souvenir stalls, but this seems to be a genuinely fully working market with meat stalls, fish stalls, veg stalls, where the locals come to get their produce, so it's really cool to see. It also has this nice area where there's street food and bars to come and enjoy your time here as well. I was not expecting that!
Oh my god.
Seeing as we only got about 2 hours sleep last night, we're pretty knackered, so we decided to come back to the hotel early, have some Latvian bubbles and crash out in bed. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. We're just on our way to do a free walking tour of the Old Town in Riga. You can find free walking tours in most cities nowadays, and we find they're a good way to get a good overview of the layout of a city and its history, so you can kind of see what kind of things you want to go back and do.
Riga's Old Town at the centre of the city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, famous for its medieval churches, wonderful Gothic and Art Nouveau architecture and traffic-free cobbled streets. The majority of the city's most popular landmarks, attractions, shops, cafes and restaurants are in or near the small historic centre, meaning everything can be easily reached within a 10 to 15 minute walk. As our guide pointed out, Latvia has seen a lot of growth since independence several decades ago, and tourism is bringing in more money for renovation and preservation of historical buildings and artefacts that had previously been neglected.
So that was a really great tour. Really nice to just wander around the cobbled streets and see the amazing architecture and hear about the history and culture. And I always love those free tours because they're kind of by local people. That tour guide, her name was Liga and she was born here in Riga. So it's really great to hear it from a local point of view. To get in from the cold, we've just popped into this really lovely eco cafe and store to get some coffee and maybe buy some gifts. We're just heading to... Kav starts talking while I'm talking.
From that thing.
We're heading to the Museum of Occupation. It was recommended to us by Liga. Oh, here it is. It's recommended to us by Liga, our tour guide earlier. and we're quite interested in that kind of side of history, so we'll check it out and learn more.
The Museum of Occupation tells the dark story of Latvia's 20th century. It was first occupied in 1940 during a year of terror by the Soviet Union, in which tens of thousands of Latvians were executed or deported to Siberia. Only a year later, Nazi Germany invaded and began Nazification of the country and its culture, including the persecution and murder of most of the Jewish population. Although liberated from Nazi tyranny during the Baltic Offensive of 1944, this returned the country to prolonged decades of brutal Soviet rule. Yet, despite all this, and after years of struggle along with neighbouring Baltic countries, Latvia won a hard-earned independence in 1991 with the fall of the Soviet Union, and has gone from strength to strength since.
Well, that was a great little exhibition to learn about a part of history that I admittedly probably didn't know enough about. Whilst it's obviously horrific to see the stories of mass deportation, deaths and forced labour throughout the period of occupation, it's also inspiring to see when they were occupied by Soviets and then Nazi Germany and then Soviets again, and throughout all those painful decades they managed to preserve Latvian culture, so that once they did gain independence again in 1991, they were able to re-establish their Latvian way of life and improve it to this day. So if you are visiting Riga, then it's a good way to spend an hour or so. It's free to go in, it's just donation based, and it's good to learn about that vital part of history.
We're now heading out for dinner for the evening, and then we're going to go to Latvia's National Ballet at the Opera House. And despite its very good reputation, it's actually quite cheap to go to the ballet here in Latvia. I think our tickets cost us about €10 each for fairly good seats, so we're looking forward to that. But I will not be bringing the camera with me, so I'll see you guys later.
So we ended up coming back early from the ballet as Jamie's not feeling too good and started vomiting.
So in the interest of showing that travelling isn't always as wonderful as it looks, it's 24 hours later and we are still in bed. We ended up both coming down with a really, really bad bug. So a couple of hours after I started vomiting at the ballet and we came home, then Kath started vomiting too, and then we spent pretty much the entire night with our heads down the toilet taking in turns to vomit. So it was pretty horrendous. And then today, after I went to the pharmacy first thing and got some anti-sickness and hydration tablets, we've pretty much spent the whole day in bed just trying to work it off. We're still feeling pretty rough, but a little better, so hopefully it goes away soon. Obviously we were very disappointed that we didn't get to go to the ballet and that we haven't been able to go out today, but I think right now we just want it to end, so sometimes this happens.
What we had actually planned on doing that day was visiting the nearby picturesque town of Sigulda, which sits at the edge of Latvia's oldest and largest national park, Gauja. From here you can explore the beautiful Gauja River Valley, Sigulda and Turaida castles that sit either side of it, and catch a cable car between them. Depending on the season, you can even bungee jump from the cable car or have a go on the Sigulda Luge and Bobsleigh track. The train from Riga to Sigulda is only about €2, so it's a great day trip out of the city to see some of Latvia's natural beauty. As we unfortunately couldn't experience it ourselves this time, YouTube user Vlad48k kindly allowed me to use his footage to save you watching us vomiting for 24 hours.
So it's now Friday morning, we're due to fly home this evening and check out today, but we're still feeling a bit uneasy. We're a lot better, but the stomach's not quite settled. So I'm sorry that this travel guide, or whatever it was going to be, didn't really turn out very well. But if there's one thing to take away from this video, it's to make sure you pack anti-sickness tablets when you go away, because this was the one time we didn't, and look what happened. So we just checked out of our hotel. We've still got a couple of hours before we have to get our flight, so we thought we'd try and fit in a little bit of last minute sightseeing before we have to go. And what better way to do that than head to an observation deck that looks out over the whole city. This observation deck is in the Latvian National Academy of Sciences. It's a very nice day today, so it's actually a really good time to come up. And what you realise when you're up here is actually Riga's quite a small city, even though it's the capital. You can see all the way around the outskirts of the city is the forests. And you go to other capital cities and normally all you can see is the city as far as the horizon. But here you realise quite how small it is.
And that compact size is why Riga is such a great little destination for a short break. Within a short walk, you can take in UNESCO World Heritage architecture, find local homemade products, learn inspiring history, and eat great food without crowds of tourists and the high prices they bring. But then, just a quick bus or train ride away, there are also miles of unspoilt landscape for you to explore and lose yourself in. Yet, Eastern Europe is not somewhere most UK tourists consider. However, over the past few years, I've fallen in love with those countries. Poland and its people are incredible and I can't wait to return. Budapest is one of my favourite cities in the world. I love Slovakia and Czech Republic, and now I can add Latvia and Riga to that list too. But of course, I also don't want to lump them all together. Whilst they do have similar Eastern European traits, each and every one has such unique and rich history, culture, cuisine and people. And that's what makes them so special. Despite being so ill on this trip, the things I did see and learn made me want to return to Latvia and the wider Baltic region to experience more. So I really recommend you beat the crowds and come and experience it too. Just make sure you pack the anti-sickness.
Markets, it tends to... What are you laughing at?
You're talking on the side of my mouth. Okay.